All right, trying to bang them out again. That's what she said. Not really. Not to me, anyway. This is the third video that I am recording all in one shot because I'm so fucking far behind. I've been talking about a lot of things. Second Amendment was the last thing we talked about. Just as a recap, I am a firm believer in the Second Amendment. However, I do not think that that means you need to own an AR-15. I'm not one of those guys that reads, con law as everything being framers' intent. A lot of people will sometimes use framers' intent as a reason that assault weapons should not be legal. The framers when writing the Constitution, they knew that certain things were not going to be specifically enumerated by what they came up with. They knew they very purposefully left room for the Constitution to be improved upon. They're called amendments. So no, I'm not necessarily a framers' intent kind of guy. I think that con law is very difficult and is unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, open to many different kinds of interpretation. I do not think that the Second Amendment was written to strictly only allow muskets. Certainly not in 2020. Also, the Second Amendment specifically mentions an organized militia, which your average citizen is not. The militia is really, nowadays, de facto the National Guard. Now, sure, militia is meant to be civilians, and the National Guard are certainly, some of them are civilians, but they are also National Guardsmen and women. But it's a government entity, so some people think that it does not count as a militia. Whatever the case is, long and short of it, I don't think anyone really needs an assault rifle. You want a 308, a bolt-action 308 with a scope so you can go hunting to feed yourself and your family. I have no problem with that. But if you want a Barrett 50 caliber, just for the sake of having a Barrett 50 caliber, you're not hunting with that. If you shoot a fucking deer with a Barrett 50, there's not going to be much deer left for you. So, and in case you don't know what a Barrett 50 is, you can either Google it, or if you've seen the movie The Hurt Locker, it is that very large anti-tank sniper rifle that the guys use to kill the terrorists that kill Rafe Fiennes. It's a very large weapon. It's a 50 caliber. It literally can pierce tanks, given the right angle. Yeah, no reason for a civilian to need a Barrett 50. If you want a shotgun, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's, in most instances, reasonable. You just can't saw it off. Obviously, that's not reasonable. But if you want a shotgun to go bird hunting or for home defense, that's reasonable. Do you need a Tommy gun? No. Do you need a handgun with one of those? I don't even know which ones, but there are some handguns that have 90 round drums that you can set the fully auto. Why the fuck do you need that? Why do you need an AK-47? Is it cool? Yeah, but a 12-year-old operates by the same logic. It's cool. I want it. So, I don't know. I've been told that I'm kind of like a libertarian, but I'm not really a libertarian. I'm like a limited libertarian, which isn't a thing, but apparently it is, because I'm kind of a limited libertarian. I think marijuana should be legal taxed and regulated. Does that mean that I think heroin and cocaine should be legal? No. But I think that people should be allowed to do not whatever they want, but certainly things that are reasonable. I mean, I think alcohol is far more detrimental to people personally and societal fabric than marijuana. I mean, you don't get high, go home, and beat your spouse or your kid if you're smoking weed. You're way too fucking baked for that. But I think it's academic for enough people that alcohol can make people a little bit angry and abusive. Is it all the booze? No, I'm not a prohibitionist. Certainly the people, the people are the reason why, people are beating their spouses or their kids. But all this to say, I just don't think that, look, if alcohol is legal and tobacco is legal, at least in its current form, big tobacco cigarettes, I don't really see the harm in legalizing, taxing, and regulating marijuana. I think it would create a lot of jobs. Again, my personal opinion, not any government entity's personal opinion. I have to be careful what I say, obviously, because some of you now know what I do for a living. But that's my personal opinion from a purely capitalist perspective, because I am a capitalist, let's be real. I mean, I've probably talked about the stock markets more than I've talked about anything else, including but not limited to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes in the last couple of months. From a purely capitalist perspective, I think marijuana should be legal. It's a $30 billion a year industry that the government is not taking advantage of in terms of GDP or tax revenue. Because I guarantee you, $30 billion in marijuana sales, all personal sales, not being captured by GDP, not being captured by state tax laws. So why the fuck not, man? Seriously. That's $30 billion we get to take out of the pockets of drug dealers and cartels. That's how many thousands of jobs that we could create. Not even just in the cultivation and distribution of marijuana. I'm talking about regulatory jobs. And we need jobs. Last I checked, there's still over 12 million people out of work right now, because thanks, Corona. Those are two things that I really want to see, kind of regardless of who's in the Oval Office this time next year. I really don't give a fuck who's in the Oval Office, because I'm not a very big Joe Biden fan. Although I am a registered Democrat, I'm not a very big Joe Biden fan. I'm not really a fan of anyone that can't string a full sentence together. And that includes the president as well, who rambles more than I do, and I ramble quite a bit on this, certainly. I would like to see two things, if nothing else, from the next presidency, whomsoever that may be. I want to see a bipartisan infrastructure bill wherein we fix our roads, bridges, tunnels, highways, everything. Because our infrastructure, railways, our infrastructure is so laughably bad. Now, part of that is because, yes, our infrastructure is some of the oldest in the world, meaning we were the first, which is true. We were the first in a lot of things. But that doesn't mean we should let shit fall into such disrepair. I mean, our infrastructure is so laughably in need of a makeover, an overhaul even. I want to see a bipartisan infrastructure bill to get unemployed people back to work. Again, I don't care who does it. I just want to see it happen. And that's why, although I'm a registered Democrat, I really haven't voted in the last 15 years. Because it doesn't really make a difference who's in office. It feels like, to me anyway, no one's getting shit done. Either side. I will say, although a lot of the information came from detainees from the Bush administration era, Obama did kill Osama bin Laden. As a lifelong New Yorker, that was one of the happiest sad moments, or saddest happy moments, I'm not really sure, in my entire life, to know that Osama bin Laden had been killed. Was it an assassination? Yes. Does that make us a hypocrite because, we pretty much categorically condemn assassinations? Yeah, but I'm okay with it. And again, that did come off of the heels of the George W. era CIA, which President Obama did actually condemn the CIA for the use of torture. And you know what? That's fair. Torture has proven to be unreliable because at a certain point people will just say whatever they think you want to hear just so you stop torturing them. But in this case, or those cases, it did actually yield results. Personally, I probably would go to prison for torturing someone if it meant that I knew I was going to save at least even one person's life. Doesn't mean it's okay, but I don't know. If you've seen Schindler's List, there is a scene, in fact, one of the last scenes of the movie, Ben Kingsley's character, Itzhak Stern, presents Oskar Schindler with a gold ring made from the cavity fillings of Jews from the work camp that Oskar Schindler saved. He saved hundreds of Jews and brought them to work at his camp. He saved them from the concentration camps or the forced labor camps where they were being exterminated. And Ben Kingsley loosely, he paraphrases a line from the Talmud, which in the movie anyway, he says, "He who saves one life saves the world entire." That's not exactly what it says in the Talmud, but it's close enough. And what it means to me, what I think it means, and it's open for interpretation, but to me it means as long as someone is willing to save someone else, that means that we still have our humanity. So in my mind, that is how I justify the use of torture, even though it is proven that it's not 100% effective or 100% accurate. Because like I said, people will say whatever they think you want to hear just so you stop poking them with things and shocking them and waterboarding them. But I do think that there are a number of CIA operatives and agents that will make that trade to potentially save people's lives. So I don't know. And again, I don't know how we went off on this tangent. Honestly, sometimes I just fucking ramble and then I circle back and I have no idea where I came from or how I got here. Oh man. No, seriously, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about how politicians don't really get shit done and how I want to see an infrastructure bill and marijuana legalized, taxed, and regulated. I mean, if the government, either side or both sides preferably, manage to come up with an infrastructure bill and or legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana on a federal level, I mean, that will create so many jobs. So many jobs. And yes, sure, a lot of people are slowly but surely getting back to work. Thank God, thank science, whatever you believe in. I think we can all be happy that people are getting back to work and things are starting to slowly normalize from, at least in terms of coronavirus here in the States. There are some people that are going to be permanently laid off, and I think that now is as good a time as any to at least pass an infrastructure bill to soak up unemployed and get our roads, bridges, tunnels, railways a much needed makeover, and or legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana. A lot of jobs, a lot of GDP. I really just don't see a legitimate reason why you wouldn't want to do either or both of those things. Yeah, I mean, ATF, right? The government agency, ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms. So, alcohol, tobacco, firearms also do explosives. And if they do tobacco, I mean, that's such a random kind of eclectic group of things, right? Alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives. I mean, just add marijuana in there, honestly. I mean, the DEA probably already, I could be wrong, I genuinely don't know, but I would guess that the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, is probably more concerned generally with cocaine and heroin and other things making its way into the States than marijuana. So I don't know. Personally, I think that would be a smart move. Again, from a purely capitalist perspective, I don't know how you don't legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana. And then also from a purely, well, not purely, but at least partially capitalist perspective, creating an infrastructure bill is going to do a lot for the country, for people, jobs, the stock market, certain companies like aggregate companies, heavy machinery companies, and then small businesses, individual contractors, that would be subcontractors to, state, federal, DOT, Department of Transportation. I think that it creates a lot of jobs, stimulates GDP, stimulates the economy, and as Larry Kudlow used to say, I hope he still says it, but Larry Kudlow, one of the president's financial advisors, used to have his own show on CNBC, and although he's a little bit too far to the right for my taste, he did say and does say something that is accurate, and that is a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think that either or both an infrastructure bill and marijuana being legalized, taxed, and regulated would lift all boats. Fewer people are going to be arrested for bullshit marijuana crimes. Keep more people out of jail or prison if you're a three strikes law state. Now, there's a separate question. What do you do about the people that are in prison for marijuana now? That's not an easy one. I mean, Aziz Ansari literally has a bit in one of his more recent skits on Netflix that, not so funny, although it is funny in his delivery. We put every black guy in jail for a little bit of weed and then left him there. And then that's kind of, that's not far off. There are a lot of people, many of whom are black, that are in prison for a petty bullshit thing like marijuana. So how do you fix that situation? And I wouldn't even presume to know the answer to that, quite honestly. But that is no reason to not legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana. I mean, fewer people in prison, fewer people in jail, fewer people arrested. I think that is a good thing. And it will give, like I said, it'll give the appropriate law enforcement agencies more resources to devote to, real crime like heroin trafficking and cocaine trafficking, or heroin and cocaine street dealers. Because that shit kills you. I mean, I don't know if y'all noticed, but heroin and cocaine will fucking kill you. Marijuana, I mean, I don't even know if you can overdose on marijuana, but if you do, like, what's going to happen? You fall asleep. You eat a shit ton. I don't think you can overdose and die on marijuana. You can get high as fuck, but I don't think you're going to overdose on marijuana like you can on cocaine or heroin. I mean, again, getting back to the purely capitalist perspective, legalizing, taxing, and regulating marijuana, that's going to stimulate GDP just from the munchies, right? I mean, that's just sound logic right there. I don't know. I'm personally more concerned with cocaine submarines making their way from Colombia or wherever else than I am with weed. And not for nothing, if we legalize, tax, and regulate weed, then you're not going to be seeing all these K2, crazy fucking K2 videos, people dying on K2, getting fucking nuts on K2, like LSD type of trips and highs. I don't know. I genuinely do not see a rational reason why marijuana shouldn't be legalized, taxed, and regulated. Lots of people say marijuana is a gateway drug. I'm pretty sure the science has proven that to be a fallacy. I know plenty of people that have smoked a shit ton of weed and never done anything else beyond that. I think if you want to do something harder than marijuana, you're going to do something harder than marijuana. I don't think doing marijuana or smoking marijuana has any impact on whether you will or will not do something harder than that. I think that's a fallacy. I really do. And honestly, I think marijuana smoke is less assaulting to the senses as tobacco smoke. And I'm a fucking cigarette smoker. Like, I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. And if I smell someone else's cigarette, I'm like, that's fucking disgusting. But when I walk past a cloud of marijuana smoke, I am much less insulted or assaulted by that stench or smell. No, I'm not a pothead. Although if I were retired, I would totally smoke weed. I would get fat, though, because I love sweets. Anyway, some people will say, yeah, it's a gateway drug, and I don't think so. I think that's the only real, quote-unquote, real argument against it, and it's a fallacy. So, those are my stances on that. I'm sure someone is going to say or wonder about prostitution, and I think that might just have to be covered at another time, because I'm about to give up on this battle. Yep. Ciao for now.